Champ, we're live. Well, we're not live. We're recording this for the Pies Eyes podcast. So just been getting used to those live streams, brother. They've been fun, haven't they?
It's going to be a little bit weird getting accustomed to the live stream with all the chat with everyone in there. It's been good. Familiar faces, some new faces each live stream as well. It's been good.
Yeah. So we'll try to switch our minds back to the podcast mentality for this one. But I felt now's a good time. We're leading into the bye. We don't have a game this week. I'm just kidding. We do have North Melbourne, but I would argue we've got two buys in the next 2 weeks. So nice 2 weeks off is the joke I'm trying to make. So a little bit of fucking some audible sarcastic cheers there in the background, or no?
Look, maybe you can add some laughs in there in the post edit. But look, champ, I've been vocal on the live streams. I said if North Melbourne beat us, I'll go on record here on the Pies Eyes podcast as well. I will eat a ghost pepper. All right, you'll track it down. Habanero pepper, whatever the hottest pepper we can get in Melbourne, chili. Bring it my way. I'll eat it on camera. All right, so that's what's on stake, and that's what I'm willing to bet, and how confident I am on a Collingwood win this weekend.
I love the confidence, but I want to see some kahunas from you, brother, next time. I want you to put those stakes on a game like a Gold Coast away after our bye. Have you got that in you though? Do you trust the boys that much?
Mate, Gold Coast, they've built a little bit of a fortress up there. They haven't dropped a game this year. Can't travel away for shit, but you know they've made that the fortress this year. It's kind of like the Gabba was last year for the Lions.
Yeah,
that would be a risky bet, brother. We'll get past this week and we'll reassess the options. All right.
Yeah, well, like I said, 2 weeks, 2 buys coming up. So what better way to review the season that has been so far, including the off-season, the pre-season, the mid-season draft. So we're going to cover all that in this podcast today. So buckle up. We're going to get straight into it, champs. And I think our first topic that we want to crack into is the top 5 best performing Collingwood players for the season thus far. However, the caveat is you cannot select a Nick Dacos. That is cheating. That is cheating, brother.
Yeah, very nice to throw that in 2 minutes before we started recording, but that's all right. We'll
call it the question without notice, brother. Call it the question without notice.
Yep. Am I going first, champs?
Go. Hey, the floor is yours, man.
So top 5 is number 1. I would say for me, Pendles. He's been absolutely unreal, showing that he's aging like a fine wine. Still, don't really need to elaborate on how good of a season he's having. And once he comes back in after his bicep injury, he'll come back ready to go. My second player would be Jack Crisp. So he's been absolutely unreal, really finding good form, especially these last couple of games, right? Last 5 games, so I'd say he's been absolutely unreal. Tackle pressure, his ability to win the footy around the contest, being an inside player, it was really good. He was a little bit slow to start the season. Was even a sub for one of the games, but he's obviously found a lot of form, kind of took that on the chin. It was like, all right, well, if you're going to drop me into the sub position, he's really come back since then and cemented that spot. My third best top 5 player would be Darcy Cameron. With Coxie going down, he's just been unreal for us. One of the best intercept marking ruckman in the game. Absolutely unreal. We've also got Josh Dacos at the 4 spot. Absolute cracker of a game, over 30 disposals on the weekend. His ability on the wing he's made that his home for the last few years, but he's really coming into his own. He's he needed a big game on the weekend and he's absolutely done that. So put him there. His just ability to, much like Nick, to be able to kick either way. He's just elite ball user. Unreal. And then in the 5th spot, champ, I've got the man. Could be a little bit of recency bias in there from the game he had on the weekend, but I've got the man, the Bruz, in there in the 5 spot. Been really good. 18.5 disposals. 1.4 intercept marks for the year. He's also averaging career highs in his spoils. So he's getting about 3.2 spoils a game. And he's also averaging 5.3 1%ers a game, which are both career highs for him. And yeah, after a game on the weekend like he had, it's hard not to put him in the top 5 spot. And he does that weekend with a lot of 1%ers, a lot of attack on the ball. Absolutely love the bloke, and he fills out my top 5. So to recap, champs, I've got Pendles, Jack Crisp in the second spot, DC, Josh, the Braz. What do you got? Something similar?
Yeah, I think I alluded to before the podcast that it's going to be difficult because there's usually a bit of a prerequisite when it comes to picking a top 5 at the mid-season. You'd want to hope that you're picking players who have played a fair amount of games. And in the Collingwood side at the moment, there's not really a whole bunch of players that have played more than 2 handfuls of games this year. But anyhow, I'm going to try attack this a little bit different to you in the sense that maybe I can read out some different facts about some of these players. And I will say our order is different. So I've got Darcy Cameron as number 1.
Yeah.
I've got him number 1. And champs, you steal my favorite line, the best intercepting ruckman and marking ruckman in the league. What else do I like about Darcy Cameron? Well, I liked his set shot against the Demons on the weekend on the boundary. I didn't mind that. That looked like it was never missing. And yeah, while Max Gawn had 25 odd disposals on him, I don't think he necessarily dominated him in the ruck. At least it didn't feel like that. Winning the clearances probably talks to Darcy Cameron putting in a real shift. I don't even know if Kruger played in the ruck a whole lot through the centre bounce. He may have done stoppages, right? But that's about it. 0, yeah.
He had 0. Darcy Cameron had 91% attendance, centre bounce attendance, and then Franton did the other 9%.
Yeah.
So Kruger didn't feature at all in the centre bounce attendance, which was what we were alluding to before game. We thought Frampton would have, potentially stayed in the back line and Kruger would have come in pinship, but Frampton obviously was forward and helped Darcy Cameron out a little bit. 9% isn't much in the centre bounce attendance.
Yeah. So it's just an even more of a testament to what Darcy Cameron's been able to achieve this year, to battle Gawn and not allow Melbourne to have first use through Max Gawn's exquisite ability with his hit zones and his taps. I think it was 45 hit outs to 22. Darcy Cameron kicks a goal. Max Gawn doesn't kick a goal. So you try to look at some of the positives out of that, and the fact that Darcy Cameron basically went head to head with him for the most part of the game is big ups to the man. So that's why I've got him at number 1. Outside of that, he's been unreal for the majority of the season, and the best ability, some would say, is availability, and he's been available for the entirety of the first half of the year. So that's why I'm going to go with DC as my number 1. Number 2, a close number 2, Mr. Pendlebury, the ever dependable Mr. Pendlebury. Champs, whose captain is he?
The people's champ, brother. He's my captain, I don't know for sure. Huh?
My captain, and he's the people's champ. Yeah. And as long as he's around, Scott Pendlebury will be our captain, and he'll be the people's champ. No matter how you want to frame it, that's just the way it is. His game against Adelaide in that first quarter, those 2 goals, the 2 goal assists, he just defies what should be possible at his age at AFL level. Players struggle to get beyond age 31, 32 at AFL level. This man's at 36, allegedly about to sign a 1-year extension, and doesn't look to be slowing down. There was a bit of criticism for him early in the year. Kane Corns and the likes were getting at him, but I saw that through a different lens, and I thought Pendles was doing okay in a side that was struggling. And we'll talk about what we've seen from Collingwood as a whole this year. But Pendles number 2 for me. Jack Crisp, Mr. Consistent, Mr. Finals. Number 3 has to be for me. 227 consecutive games. He's just behind Adam Uze now, who is the Richmond coach, and played very well on the weekend. Got the medal for the King's birthday clash, honouring Neil Danaher through the M&D fight. So, yeah, he just continues to reform back into, or return back to form is what I was trying to say. I said reform, return back to form. Given his slow start to the year, that game you mentioned he was sub was against Brisbane, and I feel like if Crisp wasn't on a consecutive game record, I feel like he could have missed that game entirely. But maybe Fly McRae was looking after him and was mindful that they don't need to drop him just yet. So it's been a nice little resurgence from Crisp on a personal note. Number 4, I've got your man higher than you, brother. I got Brazzy Maynard at number 4, brother. You couldn't get him any higher?
No, I thought I was satisfied with the list, champ. I thought Josh has been having a good year, and that's why I've slotted him in the 4th spot.
He was quietly good against the D's, wasn't he, brother?
Yeah, very good. Very good. Very good.
Yeah. So for all the reasons, Brazzy, things don't necessarily spring out of the stat sheet for him, but he just does all the little things right. We talk about him being Mr. 1%er. He just gets the team going. He's got that white line fever and he wears his heart on his sleeve. And I could hardly fault him this year. I don't remember too many moments where Brazzy Maynard was liable for a certain mistake or not going at the ball hard enough. When everyone was struggling, he was one of our best performers. I remember that vividly, that he was one of our best consistent players in the face of adversity during that 3-game losing streak to start the year. So that's why I got the man at number 4 and Josh Dacos number 5. I think he's probably in All-Australian contention for the wing position if the All-Australian selection panel opt for true wingers in the wing position. If they select midfielders as wingers, then we're all fucked. But I think Josh Dacos and Errol Goulden can occupy both sides of the wings in that All-Australian. What he had 34 disposals on the weekend, 12 contested possessions, had a shot on goal, 6 clearances, 10 marks, which probably indicates that we owned the uncontested ball at times and got the ball moving through players like Josh Dacos and Lipinski and Solon and so forth. So that rounds out my top 5, and that's without Nick Dacos there. I think it goes without saying the reason why we didn't include Nick Dacos is because he has to be the obvious number 1, breaking the record for breaking 2 club records in one game, and that was the most contested possessions in a game and most clearances in a game, and then the youngest player to reach 30 disposals against every team in the land of the AFL this year.
Yeah, outrageous stats, isn't it?
Unbelievable.
So, guys, you heard Anthony and I's top 5. I would like to hear what your guys' top 5 would be, or maybe someone you would miss out. Maybe a Darcy Moore could have fitted in there. Who would you guys include in that list?
Not allowed to pick Nick Dacos though. No cheating. No cheating. Cheats. But yeah, from there, champs, we'll segue this right into our recollection from the preseason rolling into the start of the season and where we are now. And if I may, I will start with the preseason recollection and I'll bring our attention back to that intra-club match where I think it was featured online on YouTube or the Collingwood website or something. And I remember David King tweeting that he had seen too much Hollywood going on in that game with Ash Johnson and Bobby Hill doing things that probably seemed a little bit superfluous for the occasion and was a little bit too much. And in that moment, I sort of just I chuffed at it, really. I thought nothing of it. I thought it was just David King sort of just trying to get this, get some engagement, get some stuff going on the socials, because obviously Collingwood is such a big conversation, especially after a premiership, and he's probably there's probably a little bit of innuendo there behind David King's comments suggesting that there is a foreseeable premiership hangover. And then we go into round 0 against GWS. And I don't know what you remember from that, champs. I remember we had a lot of scoring opportunities, but we didn't capitalize. And then during that week, after that week, we're saying, it was just an anomaly. We had a lot of scoring shots. We should have won, or we could have won. All will be well when we play Sydney, and we'll be back to our usual best. So that's my recollection. Did you have anything you wanted to add to that, champs?
Nah, I just remember, like, obviously we've talked about it before, but just the round zero in general. I know we harped on about it earlier in the year, but I'm gonna harp on it about it again. It's bullshit. It's like, I don't think it works, and especially if you're a grand final team who's just won the premiership and you want to do the unveil the flag, and then you have a ground zero game, and it just like, I remember the game, but what I remember most is the sour taste in my mouth, and I didn't even want to watch the flag reveal the next week against Sydney, right? Like, that's what I remembered from the first two games. And yeah, that's the biggest thing. GWS did the job on us, and then we went into Sydney and obviously didn't have a great performance there. So yeah, was not happy for that.
Yeah. I remember that game against Sydney, brother. We were just turning over the ball in our back half like it was nothing. That was the second back-to-back game where we'd conceded over 100 points. And then we go into St. Kilda, and I just remember I could feel the anxiety building up that week. Talks of premiership hangover. We finished. We're looking old. We're not tackling properly. We're not sticking our tackles. One of the reasons why I think Jack Crisp was getting dropped was because his defensive running capacity wasn't there. But a lot of players weren't willing to bend over and pick up the fucking footy. They were just soccering the ball off the ground like it was a soccer match, essentially. And that needed to change. And I think you said, Champs, it felt like some of the boys were like, I don't have to do it. Somebody else will do it for me. I'll do all the pretty stuff. And the Bo McCreary's and the Brody Meyer checks will carry the boats for us until I need to show up again in the finals and go back to back. And we'd go on our merry way. That's what it felt like, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Look, probably there's a lot of finger pointing, and also like when we'd go to set up, a defensive zone, there was like, if you and me, Champs, we went together, I'm pointing you to go over there instead of myself going over there. There's a lot of finger pointing, and that's why those first couple of games, our zone was just getting sliced up because there was no pressure from up the ground. And then when did it come, everyone was finger pointing and saying, "Oh, you should be there, I should be there." It was like a training drill. We didn't really get out of first gear, right? It was a lot of, I'm in my spot and that's it. And like, the goalie should be over there. I'm not going to be moving, or I'm not going to try and make him accountable, right? So that was another thing that I highlighted as well that I thought was very lacking. And it's good to see now that we're starting, that's pretty much all gone now,
Yeah, definitely. It was an eye opener for me, Chance, because I hadn't seen Collingwood be that vulnerable in transition and our defense to look like not a premiership worthy defense like we were last year. It was sort of humbling. And my biggest taking from that was footy really is like, it's such a team sport. I know that sounds obvious and like cliche, but it is a team sport. Like, if you don't defend further up the ground properly and don't apply pressure at the source of where the ball is initially, you can have mate. You can have fucking Heath Shaw. You can have Nick Maxwell. You can have Darcy Moore there. You can have Prestige Camo. You can have Jimmy Clement there as well. And throw in Steven Silvani from Carlton as well, from their team of the century. Doesn't matter what defense you have, if you don't have pressure on the ball and a good zone ahead of the ground, you can be made to look like fucking North Melbourne.
Yeah.
You like that one?
Yeah,
that
exactly. Yeah, I like that one. I like that one.
Yeah.
But I think, the work ethic wasn't there as well. Like, a lot of the boys were walking around after contest, especially on mids. The goalie, right? It's meant to be in his prime at the start of the year. Had such a big end to 2023, and then we see him. There's a contest, ball goes the other way, and he's walking. Yeah, it was very alarming those first few games, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was. I even remember Ross Lyons' comments up that St Kilda game where we lost, and it was obviously really disappointing loss. He goes, I think one of the journos goes, do you reckon you've figured out Collingwood? And Ross goes, I think he said something like, I think the whole league's figured out Collingwood. But at that time, brother, I just felt like there was a lot Collingwood was getting wrong on a fundamental level, and not just our game plan wasn't working. And we've talked about our transition footy. hasn't been the same as last year. We've improved from turnover, we've improved from scores from stoppages. Defensive half transition is lacking, but I just felt like there was the pressure, the desire that was missing before anything else mattered. And I think Ross Lyon was quick to jump the gun. And God, how much has that been in him in the ass? Like, what goes around comes around. St Kilda are flying at that point. They've beaten fucking Collingwood. They've just beaten the reigning premiers. They're strutting and stuff. Ross is feeling good in the fucking post-game presses. And now they're struggling.
5-8, right? They're 5-8, sitting at 14th. So get a big dog up, yeah. they can't score. That's the thing. They actually cannot score, which is shocking, right? Like, yeah, the defense is all right, but they can't get it into the forwards to just convert. So if you can't score, then you're not going to win games. Simple as that.
Yep. And I think the whole league's figured out that St Kilda can't score, brother. So 6, maybe 8 or 9 goals is a winning score against St Kilda these days. But hey, we'll leave the St Kilda slander off the rest of the podcast in respect to your mum, Michelle, brother, because she's a lovely lady and she's a St Kilda supporter. So let's be kinder with this one, huh? I think we've already done the damage. To be fair, though, no.
Yeah, she does say she's a St Kilda supporter, but she knows more Collingwood players than she does St Kilda players. So we'll leave it at that.
Facts, brother. Facts. So so after that game, brother, where Collingwood are averaging 100 points, more than 100 points against in those first 3 games, I'm starting to think, fuck, there is a hangover sort of in play here. I'm hoping it's just a mini one. The Hollywood talk that David King was referring to was probably revolving around the lack of pressure, the lack of intensity, and now we were plagued with the challenge of going to the Gabba, where was known to be a fortress last year. They didn't lose a single game there, and we've got the undesirable task of going up there at 0-3, and if we lose, fuck it, things look very, very different for us at that point.
Yeah, exactly. You kind of hit the nail on the head. I remember going in. What can we expect from this game? Like you're alluding to, they made that the fortress the year before, much like Gold Coast have done this year. And there was a lot riding on this. Like, we were copying a lot of media flack for not winning a game, even though Brisbane hadn't won a game at that point either. And it was really one of those 8-point games going in there, wasn't a chance.
Yeah, if there was such thing as a 72-point game, brother, maybe that was one, huh?
Yeah.
Just inside jokes. They're good. Maybe we'll let the viewers know. You're all good, brother. But by the way, just give an update for the live streamers, for the people who tune on the live streamers, brother. How are you feeling?
Yeah, no good. We're meant to have footy training today, and we're filming the Pies Eyes podcast, so we see how well that's going.
And the brain fog's not too bad, brother. So that's okay. That's the main thing.
It's all the coffee, champs.
Yeah. Well, you got a tea for the podcast, brother? Are you rocking anything for the tea?
Got a hot chocolate today, actually. Hot chocolate, mixing it up.
The one time, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
I've got a green tea, if you're wondering.
Yeah. I wasn't asking.
That's all right, man. We'll move on. We'll leave it to the coaches and we'll move on, huh?
Yeah.
All right. So Brisbane, huh? So we win. We tick a few boxes, as I remember. I think we introduced Mr. Billy Frampton back into the side. First game since the massive performance in his grand final performance against Harris Andrews, brother, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. And he was, that's one that we forget, that he wasn't actually in the starting squad at the start of the year, was he, champs? So yeah, he come back, did a good job for us. Yes, he's got 15 disposals for the game. I remember him doing quite well. Let me just
three intercept marks, brother.
That's what I was about to allude to. I remember him taking a few intercept marks, and that's where we saw him really start to, I guess, build the foundations of being a good defender and more dependable back there. So yeah, I remember that coming in 3 intercept marks was very good for us.
Yeah, it was an important game that we needed. I think I just remember in the preview, I was talking about we just needed to tick a few boxes. We brought Billy Frampton back in. That was positive. We showed some character. We showed tackling pressure. I think we had a tackling differential of 32, which was the highest tackling differential for Collingwood since North Melbourne in 2014, if I can remember correctly. So there was a big line drawn in the sand that game that if what we were doing with the ball wasn't working out, that's fine. But we couldn't live with not returning to the identity that Collingwood thrived on last year. And that was the fact that we were a pressure-based team, first and foremost. Everything else came after that.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, that's what we were alluding to. Remember back then we were saying, look, there was a lot of holes in the game at the moment, and we just needed to get the ball rolling and fix some things immediately, or you can't fix everything at once. And the one thing that we wanted was pressure and tackles to lift, and that's what happened in this Brisbane game, and we ended up getting the win.
Yep. But then we were faced with no more difficult task, in my opinion, than being asked to back that up against Hawthorn in Gather Round in Adelaide, one of our biggest bogey sides in recent history. And I know you've probably got a bit to say about that game, particularly the second half, but just one moment, champs. Just one moment, brother. I just want to touch on what do I remember from that game, brother, because there was something there that I wanted to mention. But besides the dare bit, which I'll let you touch on, the one thing I do remember was the fact that we'd started early than we typically would have, and we had a later preseason start due to the flag. So win the flag, start late preseason, and then you have opening round, which forces you to start a few weeks earlier compared to any other year before. So that was my concern, part of my concern going into the game, that we may have been a little bit overdone with the schedule, which is true. The fixturing was a fucking debacle, and we'll have to query that with the AFL at some point this year to make sure this doesn't happen again. And then, champs, we go into the game against Collingwood. We start off hot, and then what happens, brother?
Yeah, well, obviously we had the lead. We were going well, and then we just went into our shell, champ. Hawthorn started to get the momentum, and every time we'd work it out of our back line, we just went long down the line. I think it was the right wing. We just kept fucking kicking it there all day. And there was space in the middle of the ground, but we just went in our shell. We were just trying to hit the targets, trying to do, hit Cox, who isn't really a traditional pack marker, right? And he did his best to compete, but the ball was just, as soon as it come down, it would come down to the contest and the ball would be going straight back into our 50, and we just needed to open it up. And then from there, that's probably been our biggest caveat with the team is, we're still doing our champs. Sometimes, in those close games, 10 minutes to go, we're still going long down the line and we're just trying to hold on to the game. Sometimes I would like to see, if it's that 10 to 5 minutes, still be attacking, still look to open the game. There's a lot of footy. A lot can happen. You still got to roll the dice and instead of holding on to the lead sometimes. And I can understand if it's the last 5-6 minutes, then you start slowing down the game, take your full 30 seconds, then go long down the line. But it was very evident in that Hawthorn game that we were very lucky to come away with that win. I thought, Hawthorn was bloody, they were coming, weren't they, champ? They were coming after us.
I was just going to add that that was probably the most evident game, like you said, where we just stopped very early in that fourth quarter. In the last few weeks, you could excuse the team for the shutting up shop late in the game with the inexperience in our side, particularly in our bottom six players. But that game in particular, there was just no reason why we should have slowed down. But in the end, we get the win. We roll into the bye. We're 2-3, so things are looking better. The media sort of easing off us a little bit now at this point. And then we roll into that game against Collingwood between Port Adelaide. And in the first quarter, they get completely jumped, Collingwood. They're down by 5 goals, maybe a little bit more. And then this incredible turnaround. It was doom and gloom. It was very much doom and gloom at quarter time. I was like, okay, this is bad. Port Adelaide, they're the up and comers. We're the gatekeepers now. We're past it. And then I don't know what happened. It was just Collingwood just found their way. Nick Dacos 30 disposals, 15 contested possessions, like monster efforts. What else do I remember for the game, man? It was just from quarter time, it was a complete domination. We killed them from turnover. We scored from centre bounces, which Port Adelaide have been really good at this year. They've been a great centre bounce team, scoring straight from the centre bounce. We kicked 3 goals from that source against Port Adelaide. And then I think, champs, that was the moment we say, okay, hold on. Collingwood aren't done yet this year. And Port Adelaide, they've still got a little bit more pretending to do before they're considered premiership fancies.
Yeah, exactly right. I just remember being up and about, weren't we, watching that game. Really G'd us up. And I think that's probably when we started to see Nick Dacos feature a lot more into the centre bounce attendances, right? Earlier on we were calling, in the halfback, but then we started to really see him strive and really find that role in the middle and really make it his own and prove to everyone that, no, I can get a contested possession. I can get in there and get my own footy, right? Because he was copping, he always cops, and he still does, champ, cop flack for not being a contested possession player, even though he is the number 1 contested possession player in the AFL at the moment, right? So,
Yes.
You still see it on Instagram. People say you can't win a hard ball. Well, go look at the statistics, you goose. So,
looking it up, brother.
Pull it up, Jamie.
Sucks, man. Sucks.
But yeah, that's when we started seeing Collingwood. They started getting back into motion, and the cogs started getting into play, right? Around that round 6 mark.
Yeah. The wheels were rolling, brother. The wheels in the bus, they were going round and round, huh? Fuck, I'm flying tonight, man. I'm flying.
Yeah.
So we roll into Essendon versus Collingwood. It was a draw. The somber feeling. What do we think about the draw, champs?
Yeah. The viewers know. We know. Can get fucked. But
fuck it off.
Yeah. Yeah, but that was a cracker game though, champs. Cracker game, don't you reckon?
Yeah, another team that jumped us. I think after that game in Port Adelaide, after those 2 games we were talking about, well, now Collingwood, we're getting jumped early in the game. We need to make sure that we get the ball rolling early from the start and mitigate these slow starts, because we're playing catch up. And our momentum was good after that first quarter, but eventually you start to slow down. And Essendon, being a great team thus far this season, they've proved that. They're a top 4 side. Eventually they were going to have their turn to swing again. They had their swing. And, yeah, a draw on Anzac Day, how fitting. Somber feeling after the game. What do you do? Maybe don't have a draw anymore. That's my opinion, and that's probably the opinion that Caleb shares as well. Round 8, brother, was our first watch-along.
Was it
our
really?
first and only watch-along thus far. We did our first pre-game show, and then our first and only watch-along thus far. Round 8, Carlton versus Collingwood.
Yeah, that was a good game, champ. We're talking about in the first ever watch-along and only watch-along that we needed to win the contest battle. How are we going to do with the bigger bodies? Carlton's such an elite clearance team, and we really came in and gave it to them. Jack Crisp, Pendles, and Nick Dacos all had 80% centre bounce attendances from recollection, and they really proved it their own. And then that's when we really started to see those 3 as the absolute pinnacle of our midfield group. And when those 3 are in there, they can go head to head with whatever AFL midfield team in there, because the way they're able to get Dacos open and still get their own footy when it's there to win, and obviously Jack Chris, all this tackle pressure, it was really something to see. And also, champ, was that Bo McCurry or was that?
Yeah, I think that's when he got KO'd, man. Let me just double check.
He got KO'd.
Yeah, that's when he went to sleep, brother, in the first.
Yeah. And
let me fact check. Hold on. 7 touches, time on ground. Let me check time on ground. 26%. Yeah, that's when he went to sleep, brother.
Yeah, and we were calling in the pre-game that we wanted to see Bo in there. And, we saw him lined up. We were absolutely G'd up. And then
he was lined up where, brother? Where was he?
He lined up in the middle. Then he got lined up straight there, bro. He got lined up straight in the jaw.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was a crack of a game, wasn't it?
Yeah. what I remember most fondly recall was Pendle's job on Patrick Cripps. I think Cripps was kept to like 20 disposals. Pendle's, on the other hand, has his fair share of disposals. He had 22 disposals and kicked a very timely goal. And then the Nick Dacos versus Sam Walsh matchup was enthralling the entire game. And then Nick Dacos plays off Sam Walsh in that stoppage late in the game and kicks that winning goal. And then we lose our marbles. So those are my fond memories of that game against Carlton. But to Carlton's, I guess, fairness, they've bounced back and they've probably been more of a consistent side this year compared to Collingwood. But at the same time, Collingwood have their own injury woes. From there, brother, we go to round 9, and we're looking at Collingwood versus West Coast. I think you had coaching that day, didn't you? But you did the good thing and you rewatched the game. What do you remember from West Coast versus Collingwood, brother?
I remember we obviously had a good game. We ended up winning that day, but we had a lot of people come in. I think Reef McInnes had a good game from memory.
Yep.
I think he slotted 3 goals or something like that, right, champs?
Yeah, Reef,
so
3 goals.
Yeah, so I remember him had a good one. Then we had Lockie Sullivan in as well. And then we also had Joe Richards, right? Was that his first game of the year?
I think it may have been his second or first, but he had close to 20-odd disposals, kicked the goal, and he had 3 goal assists from memory. That was his first game. 20-odd touches, a goal, and 3 goal assists, and fed a couple to Finlay McRae, brother.
Yeah, and I think Finlay returned him a favour and got him his first AFL goal from memory. And I remember that was a really good game because obviously, playing West Coast, but having all these young guys come into the side when we started to get injuries, it was showing promising good signs. Reef McInnes, 3 goals, and I really, really liked, and the highlight of the day for me was seeing Joe Richards in there and Finlay McRae being those high half forwards working up from the contest from the centre bounce and then able to lose their man turning around. And that's what my biggest takeaway from that West Coast game was, these young bucks coming in and doing a job and playing part of the system and doing a good job.
Yeah, and that was what Jeremy Howe did his groin early in the game. And we were a bit suspect on Finlay McRae playing half forward flank, and we'll talk about his recent return on Monday, where he found himself with some midfield opportunity, but that was probably his best game on the half-forward flank. From there, probably can't say too much about his efforts on the half-forward flank from an output standpoint. And that's just what happens sometimes. Some players, like midfielders, just can't play that or don't have a fair shot at the half-forward flank position from time to time. And maybe Finlay McRae is one of those players, probably just the out-and-out true midfielder who needs to be at the centre bounce. Collingwood versus Adelaide. So we were both playing footy during this time, brother, but we obviously watched this back. This was an incredible game. Isaac Rankin tore us to shreds, but Jordan Ngoe came back for his single game cameo before he returned to the sidelines due to injury. But we already spoke about Pendlebury's game against Adelaide earlier, the fact that he had 2 goal assists in the first quarter. But then there was also Ngoe, who played full-time forward in that game and still managed. What do you have? Let's see here. I think he still managed to have like 26 disposals, 2 goals off the back of 0 centre bounce attendances. Incredible.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Yeah. So a massive game there while Adelaide were up and about. Can't say the same thing for Adelaide now. They're in the trenches at the moment. They're struggling well and truly. And without Isaac Rankin, and when Collingwood do that to a team, it can be It can be demoralizing. And Fremantle versus Collingwood, brother. Talk to me.
Yeah. Champs was that a draw? No, it was. Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Well, brother, I feel like sometimes I'm getting dementia, even though that was only a couple of weeks ago.
Early onset, man.
What do you reckon? I reckon that could be on, man. Could be on. But anyway.
Any neurologists in the chat? Just asking for a friend.
This is going to cut out, man. This is going to cut out. Nah, we'll go back to it. Yeah, champ. So, Collingwood Freo, what another somber feeling that was, huh? So, again, watching the game. Don't believe we're doing the post-game shows then. Were we?
No, it was too late, man. It was like 8:30 the game started. So by the time we got to the back end of it, we were rooted.
We just did a pre-game, right? Yeah, and just remember leaving yours once again with that somber feeling of, fuck, couldn't get the job done. But at least it was a good game of footy to watch, wasn't it? Back up against the wall and was still able to do some decent stuff. Was this when Richards got injured as well, champs?
Yeah, he finished the game, but he had 20-odd touches, kicked a goal. Harvey Harrison kicked his first lot of 3. He was really efficient that game. But, brother, the umpiring decision, do you remember that? Is it coming back to your mind now?
No. I remember, man. I'm trying to block that out. What a pelican, man. What a pelican.
Matthew Nichols, brother, name and shame.
Yeah. Yeah, it was no good. It was just really shifted that whole fourth quarter, wasn't it? Really started to swing momentum the other way. How much were we up again by champs? We were up by like 30 points or something, right?
4 goals, I think. 24
Yeah.
Something like that.
That was disgraceful. And the momentum just started going the other way for Freo, wasn't it? It was all Freo show after that.
Yeah. And it was just, I guess the inexperience sort of couldn't hold up when that momentum shifted. But I noticed in Monday's game against the D's, Jeremy Howe took the ball out the boundary for a stoppage and then handed the ball to a fan in the crowds, and the umpires didn't call it. Isn't that considered time wasting, brother?
Yeah, it's because what was his name again, champs?
Matthew Nichols.
Matthew Nichols, in the stoppage beforehand, Thaidy doesn't pick the ball up to give it to him, right? And then it looks like he's about to cry, the umpire, right? And then he like shrugs and then like goes and picks up the ball, and he was visibly annoyed, right? Like I remember watching that live and thinking, fuck, he looked annoyed there. And then bang, next contest that happens, and then goal, Fremantle. It's a Freo show from there. We were lucky to come away with the draw.
Galanita, some would say, brother.
Yeah, Galanita, fuck.
Yeah, tough game. Freo doing well in all respect to them. They're having a pretty good season. Probably could be higher up the ladder had they not choked against Carlton and Port Adelaide. But that's a different conversation. And then we roll into the Collingwood versus the Bulldogs last Friday, which was another massive game, straight into another one. And against a Bulldog side who were revivified in their own way. They started winning games. They started to look the part. But as we've pointed out about Nick Dacos, 32 disposals, 27 contested possessions, fucking 16 clearances, and is predicted he's a 10% chance of getting 3 votes for that game, as predicted by Wheeler Ratings. Thoughts?
That's the thing, Cham. There's so many good players from the game, right? Like, you had the Bont going crazy, you had Treloar as well, and you had Nick Dacos. So, it was an absolute crazy game to be a midfielder and such a dominance performance from the Western Bulldogs midfield group.
Particularly in that last quarter, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Just obliterated by the Bont, essentially, and that's why he'll probably get the 3 votes. If we take our bias lens off, Bont gets the 3.
Yeah, he gets the 3. Plus, when when your team wins, you generally get the votes as well, right? The top vote. So even though you had such a great performance, Nick Dacos.
Yep. And then here we are. We find ourselves at round 13, the current day. It's Tuesday the 11th. We had a game yesterday, King's birthday against Melbourne. Context there is Melbourne were coming off the back of a near 100-point loss against Fremantle, who we said is a good side. We thought, brother, that Melbourne were going to come and give us their best shot. Do you feel like they gave us their best shot, brother?
I felt like in the first quarter, they had their opportunities to work themselves back in the game after a quick, start by Collingwood. And the ball was getting a lot of repeat entries in there in our defensive 50, but they weren't able to capitalize on their opportunity. And when that doesn't happen, then the game can go the way it went yesterday, where it felt like we just completely played better than them. But they did have their opportunities, and when you don't take your opportunities, this is what happens, and we come away with a good win. Was it the best Melbourne? I don't believe it was, but I do reckon they gave it a good shot. Petrarca out there pretty much killing himself. What was it? Ended up having like 4 broken ribs and something to do with his spleen as well, right? What an animal to try to keep on playing through that. They gave it a red hot crack. So it was just a good Collingwood performance yesterday. A lot of people coming in, doing the job. Kruger, 3 goals. I felt absolutely unreal. Yeah, can't fault many of the boys' performances yesterday, right?
1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. 3, 4, and unlock your door. Anyhow, brother, I have a question with that notice for you. It's on the context of the Melbourne and Collingwood game. So I need you to be transparent with me. If you've already seen this stat, I need you to come clean. But if you had to guess the expected scores for Collingwood and Melbourne in that game, what do you think they were?
Expected
Hey,
score.
eyes here, man.
No. Oh, I don't even know, champs. I don't even know.
Margin. Give me a margin. So expect, you're a smart man, brother. You know what expected score is. I'm not going to fucking
Yeah.
Maybe explain what expected score is to the people at home playing at home. Maybe.
Nah, it's just how many goals that your team should have scored based off the percentages of the shots they had.
There we go.
So I reckon, what are they saying? I feel like we were quite dominant, but Melbourne did score a lot of behinds. So this is why I'm tossing up and really trying to think about it. Like, was it higher or lower?
10-second warning, man.
You know what I mean? I reckon Melbourne missed a lot of good shots. So I'm going like 18 points, 16 points.
Final answer? Final answer?
Lock it in, champ. Lock it in. I don't know what I was all doing.
Expected score was 71. Our actual score was 89. Melbourne's expected score was 67, bro.
Really?
So less than a goal had they kicked straight. But that's obviously that's footy in a nutshell. Like, if you don't take your chances, you're not going to win. So you can say, we had these chances with this and that, and try lift their heads up, but you got to take your chances. What do they say, brother? Good kicking is good footy.
Exactly right.
Yeah, someone said that in the chat the other day. I love that one. So that brings us to today, brother. And like I said, we've got 2 weeks off, which is good. Always handy, given the shitty schedule Collingwood have been dealt with.
Mate, this is gonna bite us in the ass, I reckon.
Somebody's gonna clip us. And we're gonna become a meme on TikTok. One of the 12s is just gonna, have a field day on this one. So what else have we got next, brother? Let me check our segments. Preseason hype, brother. So from memory, the players that were under the microscope or in the, let's call it the limelight during the preseason, there was massive conversations around Finlay McRae, Reef McInnes, Ash Johnson, Nathan Kruger, and I think that's it. So what's your assessment of those players from there to today?
Yeah, I think we'll start off with Kruger, considering he's played the one game. It's good to see him come in, do a job yesterday. 3 goals, looked very explosive. Ticked all the right boxes. So obviously big tick there. Small sample size, so can't really address him too much. We'll go on the opposite side of the spectrum. We'll go AJ. Look, I feel sorry for him because I actually do love watching him when he's on song. Like, he looks amazing, and watching him in the VFL over the weekend as well, champs. He does present really high up the ground, but it's just he needs to find another way of competing if he's not getting hit on a hit up forward. Like, he's a very hit up forward, and he's very confidence based. So he's obviously his confidence down. And my thing with him at the moment is he's able to take a contest grab, but if he's dropping a lot of easy marks, right? There was an instance on the weekend. He bet his man in the pocket, and he's running out. Easy grab like this, and it's just gone straight through the breadbasket, straight through. And I think that's a lot to do with the psychological side of it, where he might be overthinking it. When he's got time to think about the footy, he's like, fuck, I've really got to mark this because I'm not playing good. All those thoughts will be running through your head, and then he drops it, right? Whereas he can go and grab a contested mark when he's got no time to think about it, right? So he just needs to find some belief and find some form. I don't know if he's going to be able to get another chance in the AFL side. And with his performance on the weekend, he got a 1 goal, but that 1 goal was very late, or was within the fourth quarter where the game was pretty much done, champ. And I think, he only got like 10, 11 touches for the day. So I do not know what the future looks like for AJ. I wish him all the best. But yeah, considering he had such a hot preseason and everyone was talking about how, the traditional, he's training down the house, he's looking unreal, champ, you were telling me, hey, put money on AJ. Like, I've gone to the trainings, I'm recording, he's looking like a house on fire, he's looking like the man, and then he hasn't lived up to that expectation, champs. Like, what we, you'd probably be someone better to talk to because you were there at the preseason, feeding me this information, giving me the classic is training the house down comments to what we're seeing now. What do you think is the biggest difference from preseason to now?
Well, brother, I just want to lean in with some expert opinion from Jordan Lewis. Jordan Lewis was at one of the training sessions I was at, and I had the guts to walk up to him and interrupt him while he was doing his assessment. And I said, hey, mate. Hey, Lewis, how you going? He goes, yeah, mate, good. I go, Lewis, quick question. I'm trembling. My voice is trembling at this point, but I'm sounding confident right now, okay? I go, Mr. Lewis, I go, Ash Johnson, Reef McInnes, Nathan Kruger. Paint me the picture. He goes, Anthony, no worries. He said, Ash Johnson, number 1. He's got the most X factor, but he has the lowest ceiling as well. Because of he said there's something in his makeup that has his confidence shot when things aren't going well, and it's very hard for him to bounce back from that, which we've seen this year. He said Reef McInnes next, Nathan Kruger last. I was honestly a little bit more optimistic about Nathan Kruger, but given his injury history, it was hard to get a good read on it. But what I liked about Ash Johnson, brother, from my perspective, was he was clunking marks, contested marks. He was snapping shots on his left foot off the boundary and finishing well. He was playing high up the ground. He was linking up. There was everything that would indicate that he was going to have, let's call it a breakout season. Fast forward to today, the games we've seen him in, lack of pressure, dropping easy marks, unable to impact the game in different ways. The end.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're a confidence-based player and it's not going your way, it is hard to coach because it's one of those things where, you can lead the horse to water, champ. You can lead the cow to water. You can lead the people to water, champ. But if they ain't going to drink the fucking thing, then you know what I mean. There's no point. So it's one of those hard things. Like, I really don't know what will come to him at the end of the year.
Yeah, let's hope for the best. But given the re-emergence of Nathan Kruger and Myercheck coming back in at some point, Mason Cox, throw McStay into there. Yeah. And then we got Reef McInnes as well, who we want to talk about, who had a good preseason as well. And he's had moments. He's been in and out of the squad, injuries, selection decisions. I feel like he's having a pass season. He's not having a breakout season, having a pass season, and it looks like maybe he might be tried in the midfield at some point this year, having played in the VFL. I think you said, Caleb, you saw him in about 40% of the centre bounce attendances, had 16 touches, and maybe because of the injuries in our midfield, Collingwood's panel are being proactive and saying, well, Ned Long's not available, Mitchell, De Goey, Pendlebury, let's get Reef McInnes in. We drafted him as a midfielder. The forward, he's doing okay as a forward, but he's not establishing himself as an assertive third key tall forward. Let's roll the dice with him in the midfield, maybe.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility, and we could potentially see him come in this weekend. If you're going to try him in the middle, I feel like North Melbourne's a good game to do so. I still have Reef, even though Kruger had an absolute cracker of a game on the weekend. I still like Reef McInnes as my number one at the moment. I still think he provides us with a lot. Kruger was very, very good, and I don't think they're exactly. I know they're competing for the same spot, but they're not really the same type of forward. But Champs, he's averaging 1.8 goals this season in 6 games, so that's pretty elite. So he does need a little bit of respect in a couple 3 goal performances in there. I really liked what he's done, and he's getting a lot of big ticks for me every time he comes in.
Yeah. It is an intriguing one. It's fascinating because he's now in and out of the team, sometimes due to form and sometimes due to the concussion and whatnot. So it'll be interesting to see. I'd love to see where they're both at the end of the year. And like you said, they are competing for the same position, but they're really, their bodies and their makeup in their playing profile is actually quite different. They're completely different. You look at them and they go, okay, well, this player probably crash and bash, tall forward, clunker mark. Reef McInnes, more mark on lead, good at the ground ball level, 6'3", a little bit more slender. Different players, really. Different players. Yeah, exactly. So I'll agree with you on that one. Absolutely. Yeah. Finlay McRae, we haven't touched on him yet, have we? We did AJ, we did Kruger, we did McInnes, and now we're left with Mr. Finlay McRae.
Yeah, like we said, we'll kind of circle back to that West Coast game, right? Had 17 disposals that game. I think about 4 score involvements. Had a pretty good game. I think it was probably best game for him in that half-forward role. Kicked a goal or 2. Was really good. We jumped forward to yesterday, Champs. In the Melbourne game, had another good game. 16 disposals. 62% disposal efficiency, 1 goal assist, 4 score involvement. So he had a reasonably good game yesterday, and he had a good game against West Coast, right? Both games where Collingwood were really good, right? Sorry, champs. What Finlay needs to do to take his game to the next level is to be able to make it a performance where he plays well in a close game or if we are losing. So he's had 2 good games, right? That way I'm going to give him a pass mark, but there were games where everyone played good. So Finlay needs to come in and be assertive and find his own football when there's the game to be on the line and be won. That's how he goes to the next level and keeps his spot. Because there's guys banging on the door that will come, and there's all the senior guys there that are waiting to get their spots back. So if he doesn't find that next gear, he's going to be back in the VFL. But until when we get a healthy list.
Yeah. Fair call. Played more midfield yesterday, which was good for him. He obviously plays better there. Maybe we need to see more honourable performances from him when Collingwood don't play so well. Like against Western Bulldogs in that second half, he sort of just had no impact. But he was really good yesterday. In that first half, I would say he's one of our best players. When the game was up for grabs, he was there. He kicked his goal, had impact in the middle. So a good way to bounce back from a really disappointing game last week. So just another player we'll keep the tab on, and we'll see where his career or season ends up come the end of 2024, brother. All right. So as I said, we're here, the present date of Tuesday, the 11th of June, and we've got a pretty difficult fixture to finish the season with, obviously beyond North Melbourne. So, brother, illustrate the fixture for us, man. What have we got? What have we got to look forward to?
Yeah, well, we've got the big game this weekend, North Melbourne, Collingwood. Will I eat a ghost pepper or not? I guess we'll find out Sunday night, boys. Then we've got the bye. So the bye comes at a good time for us to get a couple of boys back, which will be good. So expect to see some new names back there. And that's going to be very timely because we're going to go up to Gold Coast and face Gold Coast Suns, and where they haven't lost all year. So that's going to be very, very hard. Yeah, it's going to be a hard task, champs. I don't know if we get the job done up there, but we can't drop many games. I believe we can only drop one game, champ, if we want to be in the top 4, right?
Yeah. I think we'll hand Gold Coast their first loss, I think, in Gold Coast. That's what I'm manifesting. I think we do pretty well in Queensland, man. We do well at the Gabba. We do well at the People First Stadium is what they call it now. So we do well there. And then we revisit the drawn fixture, Collingwood versus Essendon. Our home game this time on a Friday night. What a belter, man. What a belter.
Yeah, that'll be an absolute cracker of a game. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Like what happens, Nick Martin, what type of game is he gonna have? Merritt as well. So it's gonna be a cracker of a game, which then segues into a Collingwood Geelong, which, you know, boys, Geelong have dropped off quite a bit from the start of the year. Maybe they'll start hitting their form again towards the back end of the year and start peaking. No one knows. They'll probably be fighting for that, 8th spot, right? Trying to sneak in there. So, the fixture doesn't get easier for us. We then go from that game, champs, into a Hawthorn game where, that should be an easy win. They have been getting some good wins recently, but I think we get the job done against them, sorry. Then we also then have Richmond, sorry to the misses. That's a dub for us. Then we go into a blockbuster game against Carlton on the 3rd of August, right? So that'll be a big game there. What day is that, champs?
Saturday night.
Oh, that is huge.
Yeah, huge. And then from there, brother, we revisit our demons, Sydney Swans at the SCG.
Yeah,
sure for those who have tuned into the podcast before know that Caleb and I and a Richmond supporter caught the bus there. So if you guys didn't know that, we caught the bus to the prelim final in 2022, and we still have nightmares about that. So that will be fun. Yeah. Can't wait for that one, brother. And then in the second last game of the season, brother, we've got the Brisbane Lions at the G. We know what happened last time we faced the Lions at the G. Obviously, we won that flag, brother. If you don't remember, I know you said you're suffering from some sort of brain fog, but we'll move from that. Home game, obviously. We are the Victorian team in this game. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. Brisbane are outside of the 8 at the moment. They're going to need to put on a run. So it's likely these teams we're coming up against, man, they're all going to be fighting for something. So that will be the challenge that Collingwood will have to deal with on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah, exactly right. And I feel like one of the viewers was putting it out there. There was a stipulation. Was it round 23? There was a bit of Bobby Hill, Charlie Cameron, and then there was also an omen to when we played them in round 23 last year. Was it, champs?
So it was referring to round 23 being the fact that we won the premiership in 2023 against Brisbane at the G, which is the same fixture we have for this game.
So I don't know. Is that an omen?
A little bit of numerology, if for those who watch.
Not much of an omen this year, is it?
Yeah, we'll see. But tell me about the last round, brother.
Yeah, then we're right back where we are present day in the last game of the year against Melbourne. Fixture's not out what time we're playing them, but Hopefully, it'll be a prime time spot. And yeah, should round out the year nicely. The last 4 games for us, they're tough games. So just to recap, we've got Carlton, Sydney, Brisbane, then Melbourne. Those are some tough games. So hard fixture for us on the road home to finals. But you want to be playing good sides. I use this in coaching a lot. There's no point, versing the easy teams. You want to iron out and find holes in your game going into finals so you can plug them, fix them, and then you can come out in the finals and you look like a new team. So we should make finals, right? Going on record and saying that. And then hopefully this hard road homes, we get some good wins, get some learnings, and then comes week 1 of finals, we're hitting straps and we're going back to back.
Back to back, brother. Back to back. Pendles, back to back. Pendles, back to back to back in 2025. How about that? How does that sound?
Too many back to backs, man.
Never enough, brother. Never enough. But that sort of rounds out the mid-season review, a bit of reflection, looking back at our journals, recalling the memories and feelings. Hope you guys enjoyed some of those recollections. Hopefully we didn't bring back up too many demons from early in the year regarding Collingwood. But I will finish on the note that Collingwood in their first few games were conceding 100 points or more. In the last 5 games, we're conceding 69 points or less on average. So our defensive profile is back. We kicked 14 goals against the Ds. We're averaging close to 13. So things are starting to look on the up for Collingwood despite our injury concerns. So that's me, brother. Do you want to sign off with anything?
All right, Chams. One thing with you. Mid-season review. What has been your favourite Collingwood moment thus far?
Oh, that's a good one to finish on, brother. That's a really good one because you franked me there. I'm going to have to say, let me just scroll through these fixtures. Let me see here. Let me keep rolling. For me, it's Nick Dacos' winning goal against Carlton on Sam Walsh.
Yeah.
What about you, man?
Oh.
Can't be the same.
No. That was a good one. I'm gonna go. Oh, what's been a good moment? Champs? I reckon. You know what? We've given him a hard time this year. We've been calling for him at stages, and it was great to see the old man yesterday get up and take that hanger, Sidey. Okay. I reckon that was a good moment.
I've never seen him take a spec in my life, brother.
We love Sidey. We're harsh on him sometimes, but it was great to see him get up there and take a hanger.
It's out of the goodness of our heart as well, right? We mean well.
We love the man. We love him. We love him, don't we?
We've grown up with him. That's all we know.
Exactly right. But that's my moment of the year so far. So what are you guys in the comments? We'd like to know as well what your favourite moment this year was Collingwood. Maybe it's discovering the Pies Eyes footy channel. Maybe that's up there as all chance, huh?
Absolutely so. And just to cap off, we've been loving the live streams lately. I think it's added a new element to the channel, and that element is the community, which is the best part about the best thing in life is community. So I'll leave that on that nice little note, and we'll see you guys after our next 2 weeks of buys.
Oh, you fucked us.
Laters.